Yes. So the first thing that everybody needs to know and understand about neurotechnology is that it's super exciting, but it's very early in the field. There is a lot of potential, but we are very early and limited at this point. So every time you read news, you need to be really to put your critic hats on, because don't take everything as it is out there in the media, especially if you don't read like scientific papers, but really just kind of like what you see on Facebook and what's going viral, because a lot of the buzzwords, hypes, and hopes are being widely spread. And while it's based on real science, it's often exaggerated, and people are thinking that it's happening right here, right now, and that people are controlling everything with their brain in their home. So I'm going to talk about the technology in a bit, in the science and where we're at, but really keep in mind that a lot of what you see in the media, it's based on real science, but it's exaggerated to a certain extent. So a lot of the title that you read, mind control this, mind control that, we need to take that with a grain of salt. So one of the good example with the World Cup, I believe in 2014, it was in Brazil. We've seen a teenager that was paralyzed from the neck down, if I remember, or perhaps just the legs. He was in an exoskeleton, and that was a project spearheaded by Miguel Nicolelis, which is one of the godfathers of the brain-computer interfaces field. He's really well known for his work with monkeys and rats, connecting brains with technology. And with that FIFA, the soccer or football, depending on where you're coming from. So during the World Cup in Brazil in 2014, there was a teenager that kicked the ball. So kind of like for the opening, controlling an exoskeleton with his brain. So if you go on YouTube and you just try to search for FIFA World Cup BCI exoskeleton, you'll find that video really easily. It was very viral and famous. And that was a good example of the potential of the technology. But when we look at it more closely, the only thing that that person was able to really control was a really small kick, basically. So yes, it was featured and marketed as like an exoskeleton being controlled by brain-computer interfaces, but really it was a EEG reading that the person is trying to kick the ball. So it's really limited when you look at it, but it's exciting to think about what are the next small step and the evolution of such a thing. So now it's the exoskeleton. We control roughly a small kick, and then another one, and then more and more, and that's the potential. So this is a good example of where people need to take things with, because then it went viral, and it was, you can control the full exoskeleton, and the kid can walk as if it's nothing with the exoskeleton. So that was a good example and a good PR or marketing stunt, I would say, to bring more visibility to the field of BCI. Another good example, and I'm kind of like giving some less scientific research, but more kind of like marketing, people that might have seen coming in the news. Another one that occurred at the end of 2016 was the Cybathlon, which was marketed, I would say, as the Bionic Olympics. They had, I think, to change the name Olympics because I think that they had some trouble with the real Olympics. But the idea with that was to organize a bionic competition. So there was multiple categories like exoskeleton, prosthetics, BCIs, things like that. And the BCI category or discipline was people that are paralyzed, and they need to, it's a race. It's a brain-computer interface race where you can see that kind of as if you're playing in an arcade, a car simulator in a race. So you're racing with your friend next to you, and you're driving the car and you're racing. But in this case, it's people that are paralyzed and that they are controlling the race with their brain. So a lot of research team from around the world, they had maybe, I don't know, like 2 years or 1 year to work on developing the system. So the pilot itself needed to be paralyzed. So that was a condition. it couldn't be like a healthy subject and a healthy pilot. And the research team or any team that wanted to participate, but really everybody was in the research lab. So there was not really any team outside of academia that was really there. And then there was, I don't know, over 10 teams participating and with pilots, and it was really a race, but brain control. So obviously here, again, it's really limited, the degrees of freedom. So how many commands or how many actions or different mental states can we really differentiate? So that's really the main challenge in BCI right now. It's how many states can you actually use as commands.